I'm getting audited. No, not that type of audit. What I'm talking about is an identity audit. Why do I want to do that? Welcome back. My name's Jay. This is Week by Week, a video journal series where I discuss the thoughts I've been having during the week and how I've been actioning them in my life. So hopefully in the future, I can take a look back and see how much I've grown. This time, I'm going to be talking about unlearning. So what do I mean by unlearning? Well, psychologists say that most people become their selves completely when they're around 7 years old. That means every trait that you think about yourself, right now, you are being piloted by your 7-year-old self. I've been watching a lot of podcasts and they've been teaching me how to learn. And one of those ideas that they taught me was that before you start downloading new stuff, you got to get rid of the old stuff. So unlearning, starting with your identity audit. What is the identity audit? It's sitting down with yourself and putting on a piece of paper, what traits do you believe about yourself right now? I've got this paper right here, and this is my own identity audit. First up on my list is my fear of failure. Never try, never fail. That's kind of the ideas that I was having as I grew up, where I'd never experience failure if I never tried. And you can tell that that is a terrible thing to follow. If you never try, you also never succeed. So that sentence becomes never try, always fail. Where did I learn that from? Just as I grew up as a kid. I wanted to feel safe and I wanted to feel successful, and that meant do only the things that I could. So I would always avoid trying things that I had no idea about, and that led me to where I am now. Next on the audit is my self-doubt. I ask tons of questions, hundreds of questions about things that even I know about. Examples of when I use that is when I'm at work. I'm in the middle of training right now and I'm pretty apt at it, but even when I'm doing something simple that I already know how to do, I'll ask my superiors for advice and they'll just confirm, yes, that's correct. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't ask questions. If you don't know, ask the question. But me, myself, I need to start having confidence in the ideas that I'm having and going full send into it, even if I mess up. Third thing on my personal identity audit is my self-sabotage. Let's take the fact that I want to be more financially secure. I want to save more and I don't want to spend money in useless places. Well, I order Uber Eats to eat a lot. And I've told myself I want to start cooking. And some days I do, but most days I don't. I end up just ordering Uber Eats and putting like a idea in my head that says, yeah, I'm doing it for good. I need to eat. I might as well order Uber Eats because it's easy. And I'm sabotaging the good habit that I want to build by always going back onto the convenient thing. I'm not saying that this is the only area that I self-sabotage in, but it's a good example of what I mean. The fourth thing on my identity audit is the fact that I interrupt people. So there's two reasons why I interrupt people. One of them is because I want to get out of the situation, any situation, so quickly that I will just keep on going and talking or interrupt someone so I can eventually be like, let's get out of here. Even though it might be important, I never really or even if it's not important, I never really slow down and enjoy the moment. Even when I'm by myself, I'll interrupt me having a good time or just relaxing or maybe even trying to go to sleep. I can't sleep sometimes because I'm interrupting the process of my brain going to sleep. Now that is getting a little out there. The main thing is interrupting people and just trying to go to the next situation, but people aren't gonna like that. No one wants to be interrupted. I want to be someone that you can have a good conversation with, and I gotta start focusing on, instead of just trying to get out of the conversation, being in the moment. The second thing is that I want to prove my self-worth, especially if it's a topic that I'm talking about with someone that I know a lot of. I really want to prove hey, I have worth. And so I'll cut people off in the middle and be like, oh yeah, also this, oh yeah, this. And that's a pretty bad trait. It's okay to know stuff, but be patient. Let people talk to you and then respond. Answer about what they want to hear. Don't just start saying a bunch of useless stuff and filling up the conversation with word soup. That's actually a main reason why a lot of these videos go on and on and on. It's because I have taken this to such a crazy degree that I'll interrupt my own thought process with another topic or similar to it that I never really reach my own point. The second last thing with my identity audit is that I let people speak over me. And this comes in situations in the opposite regard where if I don't know about a topic, I'll just be quiet and let people speak over me instead of engaging in the conversation in a way any person would. Just because it's under that same umbrella of if I don't speak, then they won't know that I don't know. So I have that fear of not knowing. So this is under the scope of me wanting to be intelligent. If I want to know something, I gotta ask or be engaged in the conversation. But for some reason, I tend to go quiet instead of engaging. That's something I gotta work on. And the final thing on my identity audit is the fact that my personality is very aloof. And what I mean by that is that I let a lot of things slide. And while that's a good trait, it can also be a bad trait. It means that I don't defend any values that I stand by, and I don't rally behind my own beliefs. And that is kind of a double-edged sword. On one end, if someone says something bad about me, I can let it go, and that's fine. But, repeated attacks, not saying that happens often, but in the event that I will be repeatedly teased or attacked or even just insulted, I'll be like, okay, whatever, let it go. But sometimes you gotta have a backbone and you gotta stand up for yourself. And that, has to do with the whole confidence thing. And that's my identity audit. So I have to unlearn all of those things that have been holding me back so that I can learn all the things that I've been talking about for the last 3 weeks. I've talked about how I want to be wealthy, how I want to be confident, intelligent, and reliable, but I can't begin doing those until I get rid of all of my old operating system applications, let's call them. On to learning. Those traits that I described that I wanted to be, they're too vague. I need to be more specific. I need to ask myself the big question. If I fully focus on one thing for a year, will it change my life? And what is that thing? So the thoughts I've been having during the week are 4 things. One of them is coding. The other one is this content creation. Another one is peace of mind. And then the final one is focusing on my career. Now, which of these 4 things do I want to put all of my time into after I uninstall all the bad things so that within a year, I can be those 4 traits that I want to be? And the one that I'm picking is coding. It makes me feel good. I get satisfied when I finish a project. And when I finished my calculator and the Unity tutorial that I did in these last couple of weeks, I felt a rush of all of these feelings that I felt when I was at school. How proud of myself I was when I finished an assignment, or how proud I was when I understood a concept fully. I want to feel those emotions again. And if I fully focus on the coding, I will eventually, adopt those traits that I want. If I pursue it as a career, then I'll become wealthy. If I'm very knowledgeable about it, I'll be intelligent and I'll be confident in talking about it. I'll have more pep in my step because a result of the wealth and the intelligence will give me confidence, and as well as it give me reliability. So those 4 traits are just under the compass of coding, which I am going to be focusing on. How am I going to be focusing on coding? I'm going to buy a bunch of new books that are focused around Unity. I'm going to watch a bunch of YouTube channels that'll give me tutorials on creating projects. I already started a project, and I listened in a podcast that a good way to learn something is to teach it to someone else. So I'm going to be starting a new series on this channel where I explain a concept that I learned over the week of me studying coding. Last week I explained shunting yard, but I did that in my week by week video, and I want to keep these separate. This week, I wanted to talk about the player input system in Unity and how it'll let you map buttons to a character or, map keys to whatever in the game. Now, I haven't learned very much about it just yet, so I can't go into it as much right now, but that video will be coming, and I'm really excited to get started on a second series here. That's it for this week. My name's Jay. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of Week by Week, and I'll see you next week.